Hey everybody. So it's just about 10 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. Welcome to another episode 15 of Unhindered by Coding. Um, and we're going to be continuing to work on our Rust U web app for archiving GitHub repositories. So I teach classes and end up with GitHub organizations with dozens, pushing 100 repositories in them. I want to archive those in a batch way because doing them one at a time through the GitHub interface is really slow. I'm using this as an excuse to scratch my I want to learn more Rust itch. So we're building a web app with Rust using WebAssembly and the U framework, which is a sort of React-ish thing done in Rust. We have been working on this. This is the 7th episode focusing on building this thing out, which I call ice-repos. And we're going to keep going. We've managed so far to work out the HTTP request to GitHub so that we can, in fact, get lists of repositories. We have not done authentication yet. That's going to need to happen. And it's going to need to happen. I keep thinking it's going to happen any minute, and then I keep finding other things that need to be done and putting it off. But at some point, it's going to happen because we can't send requests to paginate or to archive without having some kind of authentication going on. So we can get the list of repositories, at least the public ones, and that's all I have to worry about at the moment. Without authentication, but we cannot archive anything without authentication, so that's going to be an issue. So we had started on pagination last week because the GitHub default is to send back 30 archives. You can crank that up to 100, which for me actually would probably be enough. I don't know if I have any organizations with more than 100, although I've got some that are close, so it could be that even just saying give me 100 wouldn't actually give me all of them. And I don't want to assume that for everybody else who might ever use this thing that 100 would be enough. So we got to deal with pagination. So we've got we can actually let me come over here, back out of that. So we have some nice. We brought in DaisyUI last week, and there's some nice pagination kind of things with DaisyUI. These don't have any logic behind them. There's a purely display, so we'll have to build out the logic. I think if you pay for their sort of paid components thing, you might actually get some JavaScript to come with this that would give you logic, but we don't really want to have JavaScript logic if we can help it, so we'll do all that in Rust. So we got some tools for doing the display. We figured out how to get the list of how many pages there are. We were doing, let's see, so if we send that request, it turns out in the headers there is in the response, the header response, there we go, the link field in the response has the information we need. It includes URLs. It's sort of in a weird format, to be honest with you, but it includes these URLs with labels telling you kind of what that would do. So if we said page 5 here, no, page 2, and per page 5, that would be what next would generate. So if we wanted the next page, we search for page 1. This is telling us that to get to page 2, we could use this URL. And then this is telling us that to get to the last page, this URL would get us to the last page. And that tells us that there are 5 pages total. And so we can use this when we make the request. If we grab this link component out of the response header, we can parse the last page number from that. And that would be then what we would use to kind of flesh out something like this. So we know how many pages we need to make buttons for, and what the number of the last button is going to be. Okay. And thanks to who was it that here? It'll be in the let's see. I think there's going to be. Oh, actually, I know where it is. Wah wah wah. Because there's this note. So Asitsu was the person who figured out that the link component of the response header had this information in it. There was some stuff online that was telling me that, but I didn't understand what it was saying. And Asitsu sort of figured it out and got us pointed at the right thing. So we're in pretty good shape on that. There's a little bit to clean up there. And that'll be where we start, and then we're going to try to actually make the pagination business work. So, questions about anything before we pick up? Cool. So, structurally, what do we got? Well, let's look at parse last page, because that was, we were here at the end of Tuesday's stream. We were doing this and it didn't quite work, and it turned out it was a super simple fix, which I made later, I think that same day. And so I want to clean that up, and then we'll go and see if we can figure out how to make the pagination actually work in the web app. Okay, so we had this parsing issue, and if we go back, because I actually wanted to grab this, let's grab an example of this. And actually let's make the request to send, so then we get more of these. So I want to put an example in the code. This parses the last component of the link field in the response header from GitHub, which tells us how many pages there are. The link field looks like not that. Paste. Okay, now we have to do, well, maybe we'll leave, I don't know, that's ugly and long. Maybe we'll leave it like that. But I wanted to sort of have an example in the code so we'd understand where the regex came from. So the way I dealt with it, let's close that, oops, close that, is I looked for, had a regular expression, looked for page equals and then a number, and then basically anything followed by rel equals last. And I needed the double quotes around last, which actually I got completely bogged down in last week because I didn't I tried just escaping them, which is what I'm used to doing in other languages, and that didn't work. And it turns out in Rust we have this ability to say hash, one or more hashes, and then a quote mark, and then we'll end the regular expression with kind of the reverse, the quote, double quote, followed by the same number of hashes. I was like, oh, had no idea about that. That took a little doing. So we'll look for page equals then a number, some stuff, and then rel equals last. And in our case, that would be basically we're going to be matching against this bit of code, and what we want to get out of that is this puppy right here. That's the thing we need to extract, because that's going to be the number of the last page, which is the same as the number of pages, starting from 1, right? So it is literally the number of pages. So that's why I've got parens around the \d plus to create a capture group, and then I call re captures with my link string, and then captures bracket 1. And this was the thing that I messed up on Tuesday and fixed like right after the stream ended. I had 0 here, and 0 gives you the entire string that matched. So 0 in this case would have given us all of this text, not just the 50. Oops. So that didn't work. And when I tried to parse into a U size, it went because that text doesn't parse to a U size. And all I needed to do was change this to a 1. So 0 is all the text that matched. 1 is actually the first capture. So 1 is this bit here, and that actually did the right thing. I'm not entirely sure what to do about these errors. We'll talk about that in a second. The other suggestion, and this had been from Isitsu, this is sort of copying some stuff in that they shared during the chat last week. So they suggested actually splitting at the comma. So the comma separates out each one of these sort of entries in this list. Find the one that has last in it. So that would be like this, but in the rel equals last. Split at the semicolon, which would give you this part. And then, and trim the angle brackets off, and then let the URL crate parse the rest, and then pull the page number. Sorry, we want this one. Pull the page number out here from that parsing. And that actually was a totally reasonable idea. And when my regex wasn't working, I was thinking, oh, that would be actually maybe a good thing. And Isitsu actually sketched out sort of a version of that. And it clearly works, but it's a lot longer. There's a lot more steps than just running the regular expression. And I'm not convinced that the real win here is in the URL parsing, which is happening here. And there's a lot of machinery around that just to make that URL parse work. And I'm not entirely sure that I'd want to spend all of that energy just to be able to do the URL parsing. I think this regex works fine. So I'm going to just go ahead and live with that and do the regex. And I'm actually going to remove this comment now, because I don't think I'm going to go down that road anytime soon. So I think we're going to call that winning. This is the sort of thing that I really ought to write a test for. At some point, I'm going to have to sit down and think about what I could do tests for and what that would look like. Because since it's all been so user interface driven, I haven't actually dealt with that. But I'm not going to deal with that today. So, and then I'd made a note for myself that this builds this regex over and over and over again every time we call parse/link. Now, in fairness, we're not likely to call parse/link all that often. We're going to call it basically every time we make an HTTP request, and I suspect that the computational cost of this compared to waiting for the internet to give us the response from the HTTP request is teeny weeny. And so I probably don't really need to worry about it, but it does feel a little annoying to like recompute that over and over again, and I feel like I probably ought to like make that a constant somewhere or something. And I just haven't thought about what that would look like. The other thing that I'm really not entirely sure what to do about, so at the moment it does not do anything graceful, is every line here except for the log line, which I probably should get rid of now that it does work. In fact, I'll leave it there for a second. Every one of these other lines has an expect. Had an unwrap earlier, but they've all got expects now. And that's annoying. It's like really not a great way to deal with that, but it's not obvious what the right error handling ought to be here, because I mean, if these fail, they're failing not because of anything the user did. Like this one would only fail if this regular expression is not properly formed. I mean, that's a programming problem. This would fail if for some reason the regular expression didn't match the text, which would happen if GitHub changed their format. We would run into that problem, but and maybe there's a message that ought to happen there, like, hey, this didn't work, and maybe that's because GitHub changed their format. So that one maybe should be something that goes to the user, but I'm not entirely sure what that would take and how to make that useful to the user. And then here, that would also have to be something. Actually, I don't even think that's really feasible, because the capture is one or more digits, and that will always parse as a usize unless the set of digits was so large that it couldn't fit in a usize. And if that happened, I don't know what that would mean for the world, and I sure don't know what you would tell the user there. So those expects I find not optimal, but I'm not entirely sure what a better solution would be. If anybody's got cool ideas, absolutely feel free to share. I would love to hear. Okay, so let's get on to the pagination part of the program. Now, this is our repository list component, and I guess one thing I have to think about, and I think I know what I want to do here, but I'm going to talk it through, and again, if anybody's got any suggestions or ideas, please feel free to share. I mean, the question is oh, actually, let's start up our thing so we can see what it looks like, and that would give me something concrete to talk about. La 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 la. Come on, load up. There we go. Okay, and so if we say UMM CSI 361 S20, well, that was slow. So this is currently the repo list component, is this list of repositories. Boom. And the question that I'm contemplating is, do the pagination controls go in this component, or are they part of a separate component? And at first I had thought maybe they would be a separate component, but I think in retrospect they want to be part of this component, because this component is going to know things like what page we're on and how many pages there are. And that's exactly the kind of information we need to send to and get from the controls. And so it feels like they probably need to be together. The other option would be to have, if I wanted to keep the display of the list separate from the controls, to maybe have a parent component that had the controls, and it would do the HTTP requesting, and it would send the list of repositories as a vector array of repositories to the child component for purposes of display. And that's a possibility. That complicates things by so for the moment I think I'm just going to blob it all into one component. I may regret that. Well, regret's probably a strong word. I may choose to change that later, but I think for now that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to just put, but this is getting really long. This is actually quite long, and it's going to get longer if I do that. Well, I think I'm still going to do that for now, and we will see where we end up. I feel like this whole scope, where we go and get the repositories, I feel like that probably ought to be a function. That has gotten long enough that it probably ought to be a function, and possibly even this block here ought to be its own function, because this is really getting long. I think that I'm a little surprised actually that Clippy doesn't yell about the cyclomatic complexity, although I don't know that I've got no, I do have these. So these include complexity warnings, so I would have thought that this would have triggered something, because this seems to me to be really quite deep and unattractive, but it hasn't yet, so we'll live with it. Okay, so I need to figure out how we're gonna manage the controls. So we had extended the, where's that struct? The repository list state struct, we extended that last week. It used to just have a vec of repositories in it. We extended that to have a current page and a last page. And at the beginning, we don't know how many pages there will be. So I set 0, last page to 0, partly as a way of just telling myself that that was not going to be the right answer, so that if I forgot or to update that or failed to update that, it would tell me. I would likely see the problem. And then current page is defaulting to 1. At the moment, we don't use current page, so current page is not part of this HTTP request, and it needs to become part of that HTTP request. And we don't pick up last page anywhere except for we do kind of put it in the state after we do the parsing. So when we get, okay, I lost track of where I am. Oh, here's the link. So we have the response, we get the headers from the response, we get the link component from the headers, and then down here we match on that because it might not be there. So if the set of repositories fits in a single page, we don't get this link thing. So if there's only like 4 repositories and we have the default 30 per page, we won't get a link component. And so it's possible for this get to fail. And so I have this match here, which is if the match is none, then we'll do this, and if it's some, we'll do that, which involves parsing the last page out of the link string. Now, thinking about it, this match is perhaps a little ugly. And is there a way I could do like an or else on that sum? That would be cleaner. Perhaps there is. Do I care enough to do anything about it now? Probably not. I'm going to actually put a note, though. And one thing, because it's annoying that we repeat this code. So that is exactly repeated twice. And so maybe the thing to do would be to actually construct a repository list state with these first 2 fields here, and the third one would be the result of a map or else. Oh, I think that's the right thing to do, actually. I think that's the right thing to do. I'm going to even do that now. Let's actually see if we can make that happen. So I'm going to actually take out my to-do line because I think we're going to do it right now. Let repo state be repository list state, boom, and repositories as repos result, and current page is going to be 1 for now, and last page is going to be link dot map or, now is it map or map or else? This is where my Rust is not great. Map or option. There we go. Map. So map changes the sum but leaves the none alone. That's not what we want. Map or returns the provided result or applies a function to the contained value. So again, it leaves none alone. And I don't want that. Oh no. Actually, I do want that. Because I can just put a value here. So what's the difference between that and or else? Oh, or else I get two closures, and I don't need a closure at the moment. I think I can get by with just a map or. So I think I can say map or, and I need the value, which will just be 1 if there's not a link thing. Otherwise, it'll be parsed last page link stir. Boom. And now all of this goes away. Comment out for now. And let's make sure that that builds. Hello. Whoa. Nope, I did it bad. Yeah. So, oh, sure, because that was, right, this is supposed to be a closure, which is going to have the contents. So actually this should be link stir. Oops. There we go. Now that I think will be better. Yeah. That I think has hope. Doodly doo, doodly doo. You can do it. Go, little computer. And it's fussing because we're not really using current page and last page yet, but we're here to fix that today. So that warning should hopefully be gone by the end of the day. Boom. And let me JavaScript console. Let's look at our yeah, cool. So our repository list state is huge because it's got the whole repository list in it. But the important thing is at the very end, we have that the current page is 1 and the last page is 2. So it has correctly set that. And if is this one not going to give me, no, that's got enough. I was thinking there was, no. I was thinking something might fit. Aha, yeah, there we go. So this repository has no more than 30 repos in it. I don't know how many it actually has, but it did give us that the last page is 1, and that's correct. So yay, that did a thing. That means I can get rid of this mess because that kind of annoyed me. And I didn't really even fully grasp why it annoyed me, but the duplication was clearly unattractive, and map or is a much nicer solution to that problem. So that's a good thing. So this is an example of having to learn how to take advantage of, understand the option and result in Rust. I think that they to use them properly requires that you think differently about how you handle certain things. And match is the obvious answer, but I think, from what I've read and also just from my experience, is rarely the best answer. There's usually a cleaner, shorter way than match. And I think here map or is definitely a niftier way to deal with that. So I like that. And actually, looking at this, we just passed this argument in, which makes me think maybe we just could supply parse last page as the function and skip the whole closure business. And that would be even cleaner. Does that work? No. So the error is that it's expecting a string, but it got a stir. So we're passing in a stir slice, and so I ran into this in another setting on a different Rust thing I was messing with, and I don't know how to. I feel like I'm not understanding something here. My sense is that you want to write functions that take slices, that's the more flexible solution. And that if you have things like closures, for example, that pass us, so the issue is that parse last page here, this option is a string, so this is a capital S string, that if I have a closure, that capital S string will be converted to a string slice behind the scenes, and life is great, and it all works. But that if I provide the function name here like this, it doesn't work. And I don't know why or what the clean fix is. And I ran into this in another setting, and it was again a question of passing a function name in as an argument. And I mean, I guess if we change this to be string, the problem may go away. Oh, but no. That expects a stir slice. Well, that's not helpful. I think then we could do like a dot as slice or to slice. Not. I thought there was a way to turn a string into a slice. Oh, I wonder if is it just a matter of passing a reference? Yeah, maybe. In which case, actually, this probably could have been a reference to a string. We don't need the string. We'd be okay with just a reference to it. Nope. But the call down here wants a string because we're going to get a string. Ah, so annoying. So we could do this. And now I think it might work. Building, 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 building. And boom, ba-doo, 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 ba-doo. And last page is 2. So that did appear to work. Now, But that's annoying. I don't like having to hack this in that way, especially since I think that it is recommended that this be that when possible, you want your function arguments to be, for things like strings and vectors, you'd prefer slices, references into them when possible. And so I don't really like having to pass the whole string in. That seems irky. And it's weird that when I made this a closure, I didn't have to do that. It did convert for me in a useful way, but when it's not a closure, it does not work. I do not know. I am confused. So I will have to, and I did a bunch of searching and none of it got me anywhere, and I was very frustrated by that. I might have to post something like on the Rust Discord or something about that, because that just seems off and I don't like it. So, okay, but we'll not wrestle with it much more here. I think I'll go ahead and leave that as is for now. Let me make a note though. I'd like to bring link_stir back to being, stir slice instead of string, but that doesn't work if I use parse last page directly as an argument in map or in the repository list function below. Okay, so I think that we've done enough here. I should probably make a commit or two. So I removed all this comment and I added the reference here, and then I restructured this. I think that's all pretty much one thing, because the only real substance change was the replaced match in repository list with map or the match in repository list was kind of annoying. It was long and had some non-trivial duplication. Actually, it should just be a sentence because it was long. Map or could be used to clean that up. And actually I realized I did not turn that off. Okay. In doing so, I found that passing parse last page as an argument to map or didn't work unless I changed its signature to take a string instead of a string slice. I'm not thrilled about that change, but I'm not sure what to do about it. More research required. Okay. So that takes care of that. Now, let's see if we can actually get some pagination happening. So the first thing I want to do, excuse me, is I want to put pagination controls somewhere. They're usually at the bottom. The lists are long. So to make things easier to figure out, I'm actually going to put them at the top. In a perfect world, they probably ought to go on the top and the bottom, which definitely suggests that there should be a separate component here so that I can reuse that. I'm going to just stick with the top for now, and we'll see where we go. So, let's see, we need, so this builds out all that HTML. And I need, well, I think, okay, yeah, that's the thing to do. So we'll put a div and a div, and then I think we can just indent all that. Oh, actually, I don't know. Is that going to work? HTML bang. I forgot that I'm going to need that. Can I do that other? Can I put I guess the big question is, can I put an HTML thing inside an HTML thing? And I don't know the answer to that. So like this is going to, this repository list, yeah. Expects an HTML element and it's returning an HTML bang. Well, poop. So that's not going to work. So I don't know off the top of my head how to conjoin a pair of HTML elements, which is another argument for making this thing its own component. I wonder. I'm struggling with which option annoys me the least. So let's combine HTML elements. Does this maybe tell me? HTML bang allows fragments. Fragments are tags without a name that produce no HTML element by themselves. So I think I need to figure out how fragments work. Is that going to be in here? Yes. Oh, no, that's not helpful. I knew that. Mm. Mm. Components can be used in HTML, so we can have components. I knew that. Nested children properties. I don't think any of that is relevant. Elements. I don't think we want to mess with that nonsense. Dynamic tab names, Boolean attributes, string-like attributes. Don't care about any of that. Classes, I doubt. Yeah, no, that's not going to be useful. Yeah, and that's not what we want either. Poop. Not clear. Best way to deal with this. I think the right thing to do is to move this into its own component. I think that's pretty clearly what I ought to do. Which, I think I should just do what needs to be done. I think this needs to be its own component. Switch drinks. Finish my tea. I'm going to have my orange juice. I think we're just going to have to suck it up. And I should do the right thing. Poop. Poop. So annoying. But here we go. Let's do this. So I think this component, which is called RepositoryList, actually probably needs to become like the RepositoryPaginator, and that this is going to come out as the actual repository list component. For now, I'm going to actually call it function component repository list display. Well, no. We're going to actually try to change the name here. So so this is paginator. Boom. And this is going to have to be changed to be paginator. And repository list props also probably needs to be does it need to be something different? I'm not sure about that. I'm going to leave that alone for a second. We'll say paginator called and repository list state. So that should probably You know, and actually this is probably repository paginator without the word list. Now that I think about it, that I think is going to be better and shorter. Boom. And then this is probably going to be repository paginator state. That's this guy here. Rename paginator state. Now, and this should just be paginator. Oops, and I feel like that's probably going to have to change, but I'm not going to deal with that right now. Now, does this actually compile? It looks like it does, which I'm slightly amazed at, given how much I just changed. And it seems to work. Okay, swell. Now, this does feel like this should be. Oh yeah, this is named badly now, so this should be repository paginator state. And that should apply here as well. Rename symbol, boom, boop. And let's actually look for the word list. Oh, right here. And right here. And right here. And here. And maybe that's gonna clean things up again. Looks like it. So, do we still work? No, not CDCI. What is that about? Boop, bop, boppity, oh, hey. Broke a thing. Oh. Got a 404 back. UMMCSI. Okay, let's try starting over. There we go. I must have just typoed something. Okay, so actually I want to probably commit that name change because that was a lot of stuff. Rename repository list to repository paginator. I'm going to extract the repository list. Let's see, I will say the display of the repository list into a new component which will be more naturally called repository list. So I renamed the existing component to repository paginator to better reflect its role. Boom. Cool. Boop, ba-doo, ba-doo. So, so now I want to actually create this. I wanted to uncomment that out. I want to change this to be repository list. Pub fn repository list. Oops. Yeah, it's gonna need props, repository list props, because it's just gonna need the. No, it's gonna need its own thing. So actually, poop. So this is going to need to become a new thing as well. Rename RepositoryPaginator props, because the display is actually going to take the array of repositories. And here, let's just make this compile. Yeah. Okay. Now, did that rewrite redo everything that needed to be renamed? Looks like it. Let me actually search for list again just to be paranoid. That's fine. Okay, so I think that which means I want to probably stage that, and amend that into the previous commit. Boop. Yep. And now we go back to okay. So we're going to have a repository this is going to be repository list props. List props. And it's going to be like, I've never heard of that. So let's put that in. Pub struct repository list props. So just saw your question. Sorry, got sidetracked. So what I ended up doing, let me where did that go? Where did that go? That's gonna be right here. So it turned out that we were this close to having it work last time. That the only thing I had to change to make it work was putting a 1 instead of a 0. That my regular expression was correct, and I had just used the wrong indexing into the captures. That bracket 0 gives you the whole string that match the expression, and then the captures are in bracket 1, bracket 2, bracket 3 for as many captures as you actually have. And I had a 0 here, so we were getting all of this text, assuming this was the last instead of prev, and that didn't work, obviously. But then I changed it to a 1, and then we just got the page number, and everything worked fine. So I went ahead and stuck to just doing the regex. I liked your suggestion, but it just seemed like there was a lot of, it was cool to use the URL parser. I really liked that part, but there was a lot of machinery around it before you could get to the neat thing of stripping out the angle brackets and all of that other stuff. So in the end, I decided to just go with regex. I am open to arguments for why that was not a good choice, but it seemed like that was just going to be a lot shorter than the multi-step trimming, splitting, thising, thatting that the other approach required. So that's what I ended up going with. So does that make sense? And so right now, yeah, that's sort of my thought. But I really liked your idea, and the idea of being able to use the URL parsing. I feel like there's something cool in that, and I just not sure sort of how to use it without all that other stuff going on. So then since then we did a little cleaning. The main thing I'm doing right now, just to catch you up, is and I agree, like regular expressions are perhaps the most widely used write-only technology in programming. That's a somewhat bold claim, but it might be true, actually, because they're used everywhere, right? They are very widely used, but they are very hard to read. It's really difficult to read regular expressions, and I've never seen a great approach to making that less bad. I mean, you can name parts. I mean, this expression's actually pretty short, and only does I guess in some sense does 3 pieces of arcane magic, to use your phrase. Maybe 4. Well, yeah. But you have to know that this is digits, and that you have to know that this is 1 or more digits. You have to know grouping. You have to know that this is anything, and that this is 0 or more. Oops, undo. 0 or more anything where the star is. So there are several small pieces of magic, but at least it's, only a dozen characters or whatever it is, compared to, say, some regular expressions that go on for lines, and aren't a lot of fun. So I totally hear the arcane magic argument. And I don't know. Yeah. If somebody could come up with a better way of doing regexes that made them seem less like arcane magic, they would be heroes, no question. Because I think there's a lot of people, basically anybody who's ever used regular expressions, right? Like the XKCD comic about regular expressions and 99 problems. But I think it worked here, so I'm going to let it go. So then coming back down to here, so I've got to get the pagination controls in, as well as the display of the actual repositories. And I feel like this really wants to be its own component that's inside what I'm now calling the RepositoryPaginator. So I'm actually creating a new RepositoryList component that will be just in charge of the display, and then later on it will be in charge of the checkbox action, but when we get to the checkbox stuff. And yeah, that's a fair thing. I actually was also wondered if that was going to be an issue. And as a rule, dot star tries to give you the smallest thing that matches for exactly that reason. Otherwise, you can easily end up matching the whole world. So that concerned me as well, but it appears to be working fine, and we're getting the right answers. So I think this is actually correct, and life is good. We could complicate the regular expression a little bit to make sure that we don't cover more than one. Basically, if you had things that weren't right angle brackets, and then a single right angle bracket, and then things that weren't right angle brackets, it would absolutely guarantee that you only crossed one right angle bracket boundary. But I don't think that's necessary here, so I'm going to leave it be. So I need to make this repository list that will do this display, and then later on do the checkboxes. And so I'm kind of been doing a bunch of refactoring that renamed a bunch of things, and I'm moving stuff around. So this is going to be repository list. It's going to be a vec of repository, and why is that unhappy? Oh, yeah, right, because I've got to say it's a repository. It's a properties thing. Yeah, so I need to derive all this stuff. That'll make that happier. That should probably be plural. Now I'm going to steal all of this. Boom. Boom. Did I lose? Yeah, I must have. And now it's going to be, so we're going to have the state. Does this need a state? This probably doesn't need a state, because it's just going to be handed a list of repositories and is asked to display them. Oh, it'll need a state later to keep track of what's been checked. But that doesn't need to be there now. So I think we can just say we should get the props. So let repository list props repositories equal repository list props. Boom. And then I think I can just say repositories here and repositories here, and whoa, we've got lots of shouting. Oh, I don't want HTML outside of all this, do I? Wada wada wada. And then I want to scoot all you guys in one. No, yes, in one. Save. And I think I lost a curly brace. I did. Yay, okay. Now this is not happy. Oh, because this is props. And why is this not happy? Oh, I called it repository list. I should just call it repositories. That's probably a better name. Bingo. Okay. And so if the repositories is empty, we'll say loading, otherwise we'll iterate over everything. And so down here, we need to have HTML bang, repository list, repositories equals repository paginator state dot it's got to be star, doesn't it? And I think I have to put that in curly braces somewhere, right? Yeah, curly braces. So this is going to be repository state dot. I think I need to star that. And repository paginator state is gonna be, where'd that state go? Dot repositories. Does that work? Repositories, can't spell. Oh, so that improved the stream quality. I appreciate that. So I took your suggestion and bumped it up to 10, whatever I bumped it up to. 1920 by 1080. And if that helped, thumbs up. So thank you for telling me. I mean, you know, since I don't see myself, and the videos seem to be captured locally so that I post on YouTube, and so they have their own sort of resolution. And so if this is, you know, I need you folks to tell me sort of what is and isn't working. So thank you. What are you grumping about? Oh, is this what? Do I just not want the star there? Nope, that's not the issue. Oh, Vec repository. I can't move that. Do I need a reference? And now the type's going to be wrong, right? Because do I need this to be a reference, which makes more sense. Oh, but it doesn't like that. Oh, now we would need a lifetime, because we wouldn't know how long the vector that we're pointing at would exist. Okay, let's stop and think for a second. Oh, but that did make this go away. Huh. So maybe this is just a matter of providing a lifetime and providing a lifetime there. But now that, yes, this lifetime business is it's going to bleed around. So now this is going to need a lifetime. And is this just going to, are we going to just chase our tail here? No, it didn't. Okay, hang on. What did I do? Where do we put that? Is that? Oh, that's going to be good. La 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 la. Where do? How do I introduce? Yeah. Well, and so lifetimes are absolutely one of the things that there's much about Rust I would not claim to understand very well, but lifetimes are absolutely up there. Didn't like that. Let's see. Boop. Yeah. So, but that didn't work. Function components can't have generic lifetime parameters. Oh. So this might work somewhere else, but it doesn't work here because function components don't have generic lifetime parameters. Well, isn't that annoying? And this is the thing that I was concerned about when I stumbled into lifetime stuff at some point earlier. And it's not because U manages the function components. It's kind of magical, to go back to the arcane magic comment from earlier. It's kind of magical when components come into existence and when they go out of existence, and therefore it makes the lifetime question seems to me to be a lot more complicated and that's annoying. Now, so the component's going to be created. Here, let me Google. Oops, no, not that. U function component lifetimes. See if somebody tells us something useful there. Well, let's try this for fun. And let's also try. That's not function component. But maybe it would be useful. Let's look at this first. Lifetime. Only the one thing. No reference to lifetimes anywhere in component. Oh. That's an old version of U, so maybe this would be better. So a component is static. Interesting. I wonder if function components are static also. Because that would be one solution, is to make everything static, but that seems gross. And not optimal. let's see, function component. Oh, look, static. So I wonder if function component stuff is all static, and therefore we can use static everywhere. Actually, what if I did that? We said we don't care. Does that make anything happy? No, that is not happy. Wanted a thing there. And if we take this out altogether, then we get yelly bits because expected a named lifetime parameter. So the function provider is static. And impls t static. Is that a thing? That is not a oh, but it said maybe if I put parentheses around it. Oh, but maybe I should just be making the list props static. Let's undo this. Oops. So maybe the problem is here. And I don't suspect that's going to be a good thing, but I'm just going to try it. No, can't do that. Now, can I do that? Oh, and then, no, you wouldn't need this wouldn't need to be there, right? Aha! So that makes this part happy. Now we're unhappy down here. So that doesn't live long enough because that only exists while the component's alive. The stat. Yeah, I think you're right. That static doesn't seem to be a good choice here. And I think this is going to blow us up because this is only, the state is only going to exist as long as the component exists. And it doesn't know that the child component, that the parent component will always live as long as the child component, because it doesn't know that I'm not using RepositoryList somewhere else in some other component. So that's not going to be good. Poop. Okay, so static was a bad choice. So I don't know. We could go back to just this for now. And then get rid of the reference and just clone this thing, which is a terrible choice because we're cloning a possibly substantial vector of structs. So not thrilled about that as a solution, but that does compile and run. Yeah. Okay, so I think we'll just let that go for now. And I'm going to make a note that I don't like this clone. I don't like this clone. But passing references got us into lifetime hell. Boom. So annoying. Okay. So now, oh, and it worked, right? It passed in and displayed the correct thing. I didn't even realize that I hadn't checked that. And lo and behold, okay, so that actually did a thing. Yay, team. Gonna actually commit that. So we extracted the repository list component. Extract repository list component from repository paginator. Not thrilled about having to clone the list of repositories to pass into the new repository list component, but attempting to pass a reference got us trapped in lifetime hell, and I gave up. Boom. Okay, that's exciting. So now this is a whole lot shorter, and we can attempt to put the actual pagination controls in, because we know what the number of pages are. Now again, we're going to need an if similar to this if, so that we only display the pagination controls once we know how many repository pages there are. And I could do that off of whether the repositories are empty. I could also do it off of my last page. Thing. And now I will pre-order a copy because I've now been there multiple times. I was about to say, to be honest, it's only really been an issue using you, but that's not true. There's at least one other Rust project I was working on, and I very quickly got into lifetime nonsense and decided that it made my head hurt and I wandered away. And yeah, I've just got this, I feel like, so reading the internet makes it, people say, as a rule, you want to pass a reference, a string slice or a vector slice as an argument when you can. So actually I ran into this up here, right here, so that the internet sounds like you really want to pass a slice here and not a string. And there have been places where I've wanted to do that, but then I end up in lifetime problems. This one I ran it, the thing that caused me to have to go to a string here was actually parse last page right here. Where'd that go? Where did that go? Oh, right here. Yeah. So link is an option string. So it's the link field in the response header. And it could be empty or it could not exist, because if the request, if the number of returned things fit in a single page in the request, you don't get this link thing. This link thing only gets populated if there are multiple pages. And so that's why it's an option, because this get might not actually find something. And so I use map or to say, hey, if there's nothing there, we'll say 1 is the last page. Otherwise, I want to call parse last page. If I make this a closure, then I can have, where'd it go? Stir slice here. But if I pass the actual function name in just as a straight up function argument, then I can't. So link as dref would turn the string into a slice. Is that what that's gonna do? And can I as dref before I do the map or that takes it out of the option? Maybe. And then so that now this shows because it wants a stir slice. Well, hot diggity. Okay, now I have to figure out if I understand what's going on here. Stir slice. And now, what are you fussing about? Oh, that's because this is here. Okay. Make that go away for a second. So I have, well, that seemed to have done it. Weird. Okay. Now does it still work? It does. Okay. I don't understand this as dref. Time to Google. Rust option as dref. Just gonna have as dref. Converts from option T to option reference T. Leaves the original option in place, creating a new one with a reference to the original one, additionally coercing the contents via dref. Interesting. So that took this option string to be a stir slice. Well, and I had a closure before, and the closure worked, and I didn't understand why. Well, I understood why the closure worked. I didn't understand why this didn't work, and I didn't understand how to make it work. And what you've just done is told me, like you solved my problem for me. I didn't understand that as dref would solve this problem, and I certainly didn't think about it passing through an option like this. That is very cool. So that's I like that. That's a big win. And I think it solves a problem I was having somewhere else as well in a different project where I wanted to pass a vector slice around, but when I had function values here, nothing was working, and I was like, "Rrr." And I think this dref thing is the thing I needed to solve that problem. So, yay! Thank you. I think that's going to be a big help. Let me commit that, because that's should be its own thing. Yeah, so we want to stage that and stage that. We'll leave that other thing alone. Yes, very cool. Thank you. Yay. So use as dref to solve stir slice problem. Oh yeah. Excellent. Good catch. Because that's no longer an issue. Stop. Yes. So this to do can go away. Boom. Bop. Bibbly bobbly. And now I need to grab this hunk as well. Yeah. Sue on Twitch told me how to use as dref. Wow, cannot spell dref to solve the problem with. Oh, this has done this again. Oh, come on. There we go. With passing parse last page as an argument to map, or if it just takes stir slice instead of string. Okay. Now, do I have any questions about that before I? No, I think I'm good. I think I understand what's going on now. So, thank you. Yay. That is very cool. Now, back to where we were. Where were we? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to need I've been using divs for this, but I think the more proper way is to use these empty tag things. And so I don't have access to the last page. I need repository paginator stay dot last page. Yeah. So if that's greater than 0, then let's just put pagination controls here. Make sure that, oops, things are looking okay. Build, 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 build. You can do it, little computer. And I want to go here. Yep, okay. So pagination controls are there. So now I just need to actually make the pagination controls. So that is going to look like, if we go for something like this, oh, we just want, we just want like that. Grab that. So we're going to want something like that. But we're going to want a loop to make these buttons. And collect. So basically like I did in the repository display. Oh, yeah. And these are going to have to be, if I want to just do this. Is that even going to work? Yeah, it does. Interesting. I just want to make sure that the Oops. Display seems right before we get into actually driving it dynamically. Oh, poop. Okay, so there we go. That color scheme leaves a lot to be desired, but I will deal with that later because that'll be a theme thing, and I don't want to mess with themes right now. So we are going to need to loop. What does that look like up here? So we're going to iterate and have an HTML bang thing and then collect. So here we're going to loop one dot dot repository paginator state plus one dot iter dot, and then it was a map. Is that what we did up here? Dot map. Yep. Map. Page number, and then we did the HTML. And we had this button. We're going to have page number here instead of, and we'll worry about the active in a second. And then it was dot collect at the end of the, yeah. So dot collect, cannot spell collect. Let's just compile. It appears to. No, it does not. Okay, I need to tell it I'm doing a range somehow, and I don't think I did that right. Oh yeah, it's like fussy. Oh, I don't remember the syntax. Rust range. Oh, it's dot dot. But I think I did dot dot. One dot dot. Why did that not work? Oh, because no, actually I don't know why. Is this, so it's fussing because it expected valid HTML. Oh yeah, thank you. Probably last page. That would be an important thing to include. Did that make things better? No. That left us, we still, so it needed to be fixed, but it didn't, it wasn't the particular problem at hand. So this is, let me look. So we have .iter.map. We take a thing, and then we have HTML bang and all the stuff. And then this is the end of so that's the end of the closure body. That's the end of the map, and then we collect. Did I get this wrong somehow? No, closure body, map, and then collect. That is not the issue. Is there some... So we could try this to see if magically that would be better. I mean, that seems gross. But if it's a syntax problem, range, start. It's not star. And nope. Same problem. Expected a valid HTML element. So that did not change anything. Oh, is this going to be something simple like... no. I was thinking maybe there was a semicolon here that needed to be somewhere, but that is not the issue. So we have an iter. Man, it does not like this. Yeah, maybe... Oh, maybe? No? Oh, maybe. Because we're already in... Oh, yeah. Because we're in... Well, I don't know. Let's try just popping a pair of curly braces around all of this for fun. Does that make it happier? Oh, right, that would have been down here. No, did not help. Change the error. Well, maybe that did help. Maybe I should go back to doing what one would really do. No. Oh, but iter not found for range. Really? Oh. Well, that's interesting. So maybe the curly braces may have temporarily solved the problem. Now, range. Why? I thought range... Oh, is range an iter of its own and you don't need to iter it? I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. Yeah, it implements iterator. So you don't take an iter of a range. You just would map directly. Ba-do-boo. Cannot infer type. Really? Is the problem that last page is usize, and I really want last page to be something like an I-64, and that's why this isn't working. I sure don't want type annotations. That seems like a terrible plan. But it seems to be unhappy about actually it's saying the collect is the thing it's grumpy about. I'm suspicious. I mean, we could try this, but I don't think this is a good idea. No. Didn't like that. Oh, maybe it's little HTML little. Yeah. Does that actually make things... Whoa! Did that work? Like for real work? It compiled. And in Rust, compiling means something. Unlike so many other languages where compiling doesn't tell you a darn thing. Look at that! We got the right number of things. That's pretty awesome. Wow. Okay. Now, do I understand why we needed the curly braces? No, I do not. So am I happy about that? No, not so much. Yeah, that seems weird. So there's several things I'm not thrilled about here. Actually, I'm gonna bring this back. Can I do that? Probably not, because I think I'm gonna have to have two thingamadoogies. Oh, maybe. Maybe. Okay. Okay, so these buttons have they don't join up into a group the way these buttons do. So there's something weird happening where when I build them and collect them, they're not being grouped together the way they are down here. The fact that I can put this here and this here also suggests that you were right about maybe the empty HTML element question, because otherwise, well, no, because these are all inside this, so that probably is okay. But I don't know. I'm curious. Would that have actually yeah, no, that does not make it happy. Expected a valid HTML element. So we're back to the same error that we had before. So I don't honestly understand why those curly braces need to be there. Oh, you're right. The button group, that's why the roundy's happening. And then maybe let's try that, because we're going to need it. Sorry for the loud ding. And now it doesn't compile, and we're back to the same HTML element. And if I put yet another pair of curly braces in. Does that fix the problem? It appears to. So somehow we need that curly brace, but I don't really know why. Oh, stop the noise. Apologies for the loud notifications. Aha! So putting them in a button group solved that problem. So that was good. Thank you. And so I'm going to comment this out again. Oops, I didn't get the top one. Oh, stop it. Oh, I still haven't commented you out. Boom. Now. Oh, no, I didn't want you commented out. You need to stay there. Okay. Whew. So that puts the right number of buttons. That's cool. And as just an experiment, if we put and page, what was it? Oops, that's what I wanted. And per page. If I put, where'd we go here? If I said per page equals 5, which I don't think we want for real, but it'll tell us if we're getting the page stuff. Yeah, so there we got 5 pages. That's very exciting. Okay. Now we want to set the one active. So we want to add this button active to the current page. So I want this to be curly braces if page number equals, is it 2 equals in Rust? I think it is. I don't think they fixed that problem. RepositoryPaginator state.current page oh, because we're in quotes, is this not going to do what I wanted to do? Yeah, I bet that is true. So if that's that, then button active else button. That's kind of gross. I bet there's a cleaner way to do that. But, oh, hey, we didn't like that. Oh, that's because I'm missing. Oh, I've got a quote mark here I don't want to have. La, la, la. Okay. I think that's compiling successfully. Da, 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 da. Hey, 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 look at that. We highlighted number 1. That is awesome. And if I were to, just for grins, set the current page to be 3 by default, and it's page, and set this to be 3, then I think we should get page 3 being highlighted. Now obviously that's not, hey, that worked. That's not great. We gotta deal with like having properly keeping track of our page numbers, but that will that does at least work. And we've got the basic construction of the page buttons, and they're all here. Now they don't respond to anything, so we're going to add on clicks to all those buttons. And we need to make the right request with the correct page number when we click on a button, and we'll have to update. Well, the highlighting actually is good. We just have to make sure the state shows the correct current page. But that actually does get the basic goodies going, so that's pretty happy. Cool. Well, I should probably wrap up. I was supposed to have finished here like 7 minutes ago, but we were making progress and it was exciting. So we've got the display part of pagination doing the right thing, and now we just have to get the logic side of pagination to do the right thing, which I had hoped to do today. Yet everything takes longer than you think it will, and so hopefully on Tuesday we'll be able to get the logic behind this working, so that we can click through the buttons and get different pages. That would be very cool. And then I also want to get the archived repos moved to the end. So right now these repos are all archived, and they're the first things we see because they have the oldest push dates, and I really would like them to be at the end of the list so that we see them as late as possible, if at all. So okay, I think we're going to call it quits. I should be here Tuesday, 10 to noon, like normal. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Whatever. Okay. And I was just going to look at my calendar, make sure that there weren't any issues coming up, but I don't think there are any. So I should be here Tuesday, no problem. And we will hopefully get this nonsense with the logic on the pagination working. Now, next Saturday, I think I will be here on Saturday, but that's running into where we move our child to grad school in Madison. So I don't think we'll be on the road on Saturday the 13th, but that's getting close, and I might need to make some choices. I suspect that Tuesday the 16th and or Saturday, probably Tuesday the 16th will almost certainly be canceled, would be my guess. But that's a ways out. We should be here on the 9th. I think we'll be here on the 13th. We'll see how things go. You're very welcome. Thank you for being here and for all the, help and fixing things. Yeah, and that HTML macro, I assume that the answer to the curly brace question of why we need these guys is somewhere tied up in the HTML macro. You know what? Oh, here's something that's different. This has got an HTML around the map, and up here we do not have an HTML around the map. The map is the HTML element. I bet that's the difference. And I could probably I wonder if there's a way I could do this outside the HTML element and then tack this little guy in and basically add it to this iterator and then collect. That might clean this up. I'm going to actually make a note of that. Not sure why we need the containing pair of curly braces, but it's probably because we're inside an HTML bang call, macro call. I might be able to remove the outer HTML bang and add the RepositoryList component call to this iterator in some fashion. Boom. Yeah, so we're all learning stuff. In fact, actually, at this point, I'm going to remove this. I don't think that needs to be there anymore. And I think I should commit. And again, thank you to everybody who is here today. Do I want to leave that there? Yeah, for now. I think it'll make it easier to see what's going on. So, main thing we did was add paginator buttons. This adds the appropriate set of pagination buttons, highlighting the current page. The buttons currently don't do anything, so we'll need to add some on-click logic. whoops, cannot spell. To fix that. Boom. And push. And that sorts me out. Thank you all very much. And I will see everybody next week or on Tuesday. The repo is at Nick McPhee / ice-repos. I'm Nick McPhee at Twitter, on LinkedIn, Flickr, yada yada. This completely unusable URL, which I will paste into, come on, the comment, oops, twice, is the archive of all the streams in case anybody wants to go back and look at any of the old stuff. Otherwise, I think we're done, and it's been awesome, and thank you all very much, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye!